Good evening. Hello, everybody. It is I, Bruce Lombardo, and I'll be running a stream, it looks like, by my lonesome for a little bit. But this is a stream that a lot of people probably do want to hear because it has something to do with tabletop gaming. Now, tonight's subject is something that is near and dear to many GMs' hearts and to many players who enjoy the polyhedral die. We will be talking about how to make a great foil for your heroes at the table, or how to run an NPC that will be memorable. Before we get into that, I'll just do some supervillain backstory. Back in the 1930s and 40s, Captain America was a comic that was read by thousands of kids across the fruited plain. He was seen as a necessity. And so people would pick up this comic book. Hey, Hungry Ewok. Hey, Grumpy Old Ninja. And Captain America was different than most other, he was different than most other heroes at the time, because the villains he had were very much long-term villains. They were villains that would continue to be a problem after the adventure, after the comic was over. It wasn't like a one and done. They were more campaign. And one of the best villains from the old lore, of Captain America was the Brain. And the Brain was interesting because the Brain was a earthworm, or he looked like an earthworm. But you knew that the Brain was very intelligent. He was very intelligent because he had glasses on his little annelid head. And the Brain had so many places where he would do things, and he would cause Captain America to go run out and try to save the day. Captain America got tired of that after a while and met him on his moon base. And then after a struggle through this trap-filled lair with henchmen and such, he finds this earthworm with glasses on it, and Captain America smashes it. Ha! Got him. That wasn't it. It was just a regular earthworm that the Brain had used. He was still living, and he lived on for a few more issues before Captain America finally got his comeuppance. And that's the level of coolness that you want your bad guys, your NPCs, your foils to have. Because there was a lot of happy young men and some happy young girls, probably not as many as today, but happy young men whenever they read that comic and Captain America finally killed the Brain. Hi, Baron G-Rock, how are you?
I'm here.
Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
I'm multitasking like a mofo right now, so yeah.
Okay. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody as they're filtering in. Please grab yourself some popcorn in the lobby and do make yourself comfortable in these nice, comfy seats. We are going into the discussion of this. When you sit down to orchestrate a game, when you have the task of being a referee, a game master, a storyteller, or dungeon master, you want to have your players coordinating their work to make a cohesive team. And I really hate the word story. I do for certain reasons, but you want your players to function as a team and let the dice do all the storytelling. In my opinion, that's just how it works best. But a team of heroes is nothing without a villain. So you have to contrive a reason for them to be against this person. And it always does help seem if you have a narrative. Garrett, what would you say? I'll turn it over to you for a few minutes. What do you say about building a NPC or a NPC organization to be a problem, a thorn in the player's sides?
Well, it's, you can, if you're having a little bit also, I have found if you have a little dissension between the characters, that it can actually help bring those characters together. Because I hate to say it, you made the Captain America reference earlier. It's kind of like what Fury did in the Avengers. We used Coulson as a polarizing thing to pull them all together to get them all on the same page. And you can definitely do something along those lines to be able to bring those party members, more in line with each other and get them to work as a cohesive unit. In fact, I remember one game that you actually ran where the entire party was not. Of course, we had some newbies at the table, and there was two gentlemen, and we've talked about them a few times on our show, on Table Breakers, on that they're really good analytical players, and they actually put together out of the handbook and totally just tore the hell out of everybody.
You want to go into that scenario real quick, because that kind of reminds me of a Danger Room scenario for the X-Men.
And basically that's what it wound up being. Is we had a gentleman, I believe it was his either wife or girlfriend and their kid. And
his girlfriend and her kid.
Yeah. The guy kept buying a new book like every week. And every week he was wanting to trade out.
I want to get this stuff. No,
Yeah.
I got that book now. I want to get this stuff.
Yep. And that, unfortunately, we were trying to explain to him, really, you don't need that. Just with what you have in the player's handbook. I mean, great. You're buying the books. That's awesome. It's good to have them in the library for once you get, down a little bit more. But, he was very pumped up about, wanting to try everything. And we had to explain to him, well, this isn't a buffet. You don't get a little bit of everything. And so we had two gentlemen who were in another group or another game that I was in, and also they were in. And they made, I believe it was a druid and a monk.
Yep.
And then they just came in and just showed, how powerful those classes were. And the guy was just floored. Because he didn't want to listen to tactics. He didn't want to listen to, hey, this is what we need to do.
What happened with that campaign?
It fell apart about 3 sessions after that, I think.
Yep.
Maybe 4. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, as the troublesome player that kept buying all the stuff, he wanted us to disband the group so I could just run for his family, because he found the other players troublesome. And I said, you're the one fucking the party over every chance you get. You sell all the stuff that the party has, and you keep all the gold.
Yeah, and the only other party member, I think, was me.
Yeah, at the time, no. I thought it was you, your girlfriend at the time, the other player. Who was it?
Oh, no, it was me and Sean.
Yes.
That was the other two. And me and Sean kept going, dude, this is not what you want to do.
I remember that he had a real fit getting his ass beat. It was like I laid out the directions, like, okay, this is a danger room. I'm just going to have these guys show you how a game is ran. We're going to do basically just standard initiative, roll d20, everybody. fucking Robert rolled a nat 20, and he summoned his things. Didn't somebody else have a wizard?
Mm-mm. No, oh yeah, they had both had two. They had
They
a
had two
fighter, a wizard. No, it was a fighter, wizard, rogue, and druid.
Yeah, and somebody casted summon or something, and then before the players could act the next round, like fireball went off, and no player survived. They all died,
Mm-hmm.
and that lesson didn't help out much because I said, okay, well, reconfigure your characters, fix your players, no big deal, and they started fixing their characters, and then he starts acting and pushing his stuff around the battle mat like he's in combat, and I'm like, is this for real? And then fucking, what was it? Carl come up with his monk, stunning fisted and critical or some happy horse maneuver,
Yep.
and Robert killed off the rest of the heroes. It was fun to watch.
Oh, it was fun to be in too, especially because there was only two people who were actually working together, and that was me and Sean.
Yeah. The other guy had 3 characters if you count his wife and kid.
Yeah,
Which that was
which he was basically running that anyway.
Yeah. She didn't really seem too interested in the game. That would be like lesson number 1 for Bruce's games. If you bring your girlfriend and she plays, please make sure she's got her own personality and can use it, because I hate it whenever there is a mousy character that looks for guidance from the other player the entire 4, 6, or 8 hours we're at the table. That's bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, anyway, we've had a few adventures like that together, and that campaign fizzled out shortly after. But then we started a campaign that turned into the couples only table, and it was you, Randy, his wife, and Mike and his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I ran for U6 for about 2 months, and then Mike got pissed off and left. John said I was the flavor of the month.
Well, it also was that you would hit, in that 2 months, you would put us up to like 6th level. And at that point, a couple of the players at the table didn't know how to play anything above 4.
Well, I'm just going to say that I appreciate low-level gaming.
Oh,
I do.
So do I.
But whenever the game takes you higher, you ascend. You just get better. You learn. And that, I think we were playing 3.5 at the time, weren't we?
Yep.
Because that was before Pathfinder. Not that 3.5 was bad. It's just that I like Pathfinder more than 3.5 on some things. I like
what we had.
What?
Is what we had.
Yeah. The slow experience point gaining in Pathfinder First Ed is something that I think is treasure. I treasure that. I love it because you can have a game literally last forever because it takes them 30 encounters to level up, and that can be quite useful, especially when you're setting the tone where like this is going to be a very gritty, very very boots in the mud sort of game. And I think that's something that's really important for gaming nowadays, because a lot of games just rocket you up to like level 20, level 30, a little too fast. You have more experience with 5th edition. Does that have...
Not as much. I've played it a couple times, but it's...
I thought you'd played it a lot. I apologize.
No. I've played it a couple times, and it was kind of like, okay.
I don't have a lot of experience with it. When I played it, the few times I have, I did not enjoy it. I felt like that and Pathfinder 2 seemed far too similar. Anyway, so you get your characters together, and I don't like having them have a nemesis right away, right out the gate. I'm not certain if that's something that you enjoy doing, Garrett.
Actually, I usually wait until about third or fourth level, because at that point, because the way I look at it, until you hit that level, you're not really on anybody's radar. Why are you going to have a nemesis that soon? You know what I mean? It makes no sense. But about fourth, fifth level, when the players start coming into some of the cooler things and whatnot, that's when it's like, okay, we're going to start getting into some of the meat and potatoes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I don't like shoving the players in the deep end at level 1. I mean, it's okay to shove the players in the deep end at level 1.
Well, I mean, I'll do some foreshadowing beforehand, but I don't, because I mean, like, they're messing with like the local group.
Mhm.
It's not the whole organization. Once they hit about fourth, fifth level, then the big bosses are looking at them going, okay.
Did you see my game on Saturday?
You mean the half TPK from hell?
Yeah.
I'm going to attack the dragon. The dragon says you shouldn't do that. I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. The paladin made complete sense, though.
Yeah.
Because he's a paladin. He's not going to give in to evil. It was an evil dragon. That one made sense. The rest of them were like, the rest of y'all ain't lawful. The rest of y'all ain't lawful stupid. What the hell?
They acted that way, though.
Oh God, they did. It's just kind of it was quite humorous that, and then one got trapped underneath the paw, and poor Joe, he was just like, I'm just gonna get out of here. I fucked up. I know I fucked up. I'm sorry, sir.
It was at this moment that Joe knew he fucked up.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, and they're right at 5th level, I might add.
Yeah.
Edge of Time, I have not found a better solution aside from licking the brush to form a sharp point. I haven't found that. I have a brush shaper product, but I use it probably twice a night, and it doesn't do what I want it to. It does not make it for a sharp point. My mouth does a better job. Hey, Gorilla Red 85, how you doing? And hello, Mr. Max Boyven. Edge of Time, I can sense you've painted a lot of minis in your time. Yeah, they're about 5th level right now, and they're just now discovering the level of oh shitness that's in the region. Yeah.
That's when the fun starts.
I wasn't even expecting what happened Saturday to come into Tuesday night's stream, but I could use that, I guess. But what I'm really doing with that campaign is that I'm just smushing 2 campaigns together, and I'm using encounters, and I'm changing locations, or I'll alter a map a bit to do that. But the players are having fun so far. They keep showing up. Master Max Boyven says, ever use a micro Sharpie pen to dot the I's? I have used a micro Sharpie pen. Actually, if I'm going to dot the I's, I will use the brush. I have a couple brushes that are very bristle sparse, or I will use a toothpick.
Sometimes he gets cross-eyed.
Yeah, a lot of times I get cross-eyed.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I'm just saying that I get that a lot. I don't want to pop it out the level 1. I think that's just unfair.
Yeah.
I
Like I
really
said, I usually will wait for that foil character to come out, like level 5, maybe level 4, maybe even level 3. It just depends on, sometimes the party dictates when you pop it.
yeah.
If they're being super, I hate to use this word, but if the characters are being super douchey, not the players, the characters. Whereas if they're acting really dumber than they should be, then I'll be, popping that up. Ah, Hail Keeper of the Fridge Doors.
Hello, awesome one. I've used cocktail sticks to apply dots of paint before. Cocktail sticks work really good. Toothpicks are good. You can use orange blobs on swords before you add the wash to make it look rusty. Yeah, those are all valid ways to get micro details. Also, you can take a brush far past the point where you should keep it and have that one bristle left on it. Like I've got this one here. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's got like 6 bristles on it. That's it. There's a horse somewhere that's upset with me. Can't believe you whittled it down to that. So I want to have the players learn who their nemesis is around level 5. And I didn't mean for that to happen Saturday where they walked into a fucking teleport and they meet him. The other NPCs in that room could have probably provided an interesting fight. The players would have lost. But the dragon there was that's what made it completely overpowered.
Mm-hmm.
He's only a CR 17. They're only level 5. No big deal.
Now, the other thing that I like also doing is if they meet someone who's maybe a level or 2 near them,
Mm-hmm.
and they are able to slip away, they will continue to level 2.
Yes.
Because there are things that, the party is the best thing I can say on this is my buddy Todd. He's been running Exalted forever. And the way that he runs his storylines is all off the top of his head. And you may actually come across some of the other parties that he's ran.
Huh.
And because he knows where they're at and he's got in his brain the times and everything else. And just because something is going on over here in the south, there could be another party up in the north that's doing something to be able to, help correct other things that are an issue with what's going on in the south. It's very interesting the way he can do that because he does it all off the top of his head. And it's very awesome.
Some guys just started streaming. 10,000 people watching instantly. Can you imagine the pressure? That's intense.
That's like with who was it? Corpse Husband. He got on Twitch just to mess around, just to see what would happen one night, and he already had like 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers. Yeah, he wound up going up to almost 1 million followers in a night.
Jeez.
Well, he's popular on YouTube. So when he went over there, everyone was like, "Oh."
Who is this guy?
Corpse Husband.
Corpse Husband?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea who that is.
He does gaming. He does some music, stuff like that. Okay. He has an issue with his that where acid comes up into his throat, and his voice is extremely deep. And everyone thinks he's using a voice changer and everything else, but it's actually a medical reason that, insanely deep voice.
That's kind of cool. I would love that.
No, not really, because it's a persistent thing. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
He's not thinking of school, of course not. Like, I'm fucking inconvenienced. I'm almost vomiting up like tomato sauce every day. This is nasty.
Yes.
Has a super insanely deep voice. Has to be heard to be believed. I'll look for it. I will definitely look for it because I do like certain VTubers. My favorite VTuber is still It's a Gundam. He's not really a VTuber.
I've got a couple of them. One's a Minecraft guy that I watch. I've got another one that's that I watch when I get bored, which is the r/. He goes and reads through all the stuff in Reddit because I'm lazy and don't want to read.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling far too well, Garrett. The day before I ran on Friday night, I'm there reading these adventure paths, trying to smush them together and figuring out how I'm going to lay it out because it's in a different campaign world than where those take place at.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out pretty all right. It just, I couldn't believe that the players said, "We're jumping through the portal." Oh, this is bad. I mean, if it would have worked out great, that'd be fine, but it did not work out great. Yeah. Multi-Gunman's been good. Captain Trek, hello. Captain Trek, how are you doing? Garrett, we had a fun stream on Friday night. I wish
I was there.
No. Friday night after everything happened, I went on another streamer's panel, and it was all about what would you direct your dream porn movie, or how would you direct it? So when I get the clip, I'll post it because it's. I thought it was funny when I was saying it. Probably not that funny, but I thought it was funny. Okay, so we have our heroes, and after about 5th level, they start realizing kind of what's at play. Now, I'm going to take you back. Captain Trek, that's very well. Today was a very busy day for Bruce, but it's a Tuesday. So that typically is like the day where I go ahead with my plans. Mondays, I am a reactionary at my job. I just answer calls that happen over the weekend, and I take care of people that are out of service. Tuesdays, I start doing things that we had on the books from the week before that are not super busy, that are not super priority. Remember this guy, Garrett?
No.
Paizo has only based every single thing that makes money off this guy. This is a miniature for Karzog.
Okay.
In book 4 of Rise of the Rune Lords, this thing animates in book 5, it animates and tells the players that it's going to destroy them. Now, in book 4, it had the statement, after the players killed its proxy, it animated the mouth and said, "If you wish to come find me, you need to do more research. You need to delve back into the history of this land. And as you peel apart the onion, you will find at the core of it that I am staring back at you." The only other time in their existence where they heard this guy talk was in the first adventure, where there was a recording on a magical piece of some sort of sounding board or something, where he was telling the people of this outpost to man their stations and be prepared for the worst. Hello, Arrows in the Dark, 9898. Not quite Harvest Man, awesome one. This was the bad guy from what made Paizo into the juggernaut they are. They built a campaign. Their first campaign was called Rise of the Rune Lords, and it harkened back to each and every classic D&D outing you could have.
Oh yeah, easily.
The first module, you hit up goblins. The second module, you had like a Hills Have Eyes in an old farmhouse with a bunch of ogres that have killed the inhabitants. That was kind of sexy. That was kind of deadly. It's one of the more bent up adventures ever written. I'll just say that. The third module, you had to fight stone giants as they siege your town. The fourth module, no, the second module was a haunted house. The third module was the ogres. The fourth module was the giants sieging your town. Yeah, Hook Mountain Massacre was just amazing. It's one of my favorite modules of all time. And it's absolutely twisted. You've got to add the little twisted parts in it. Otherwise, the players will never understand. It wasn't Wolfgang Bart. It was Nicholas Logue. It was one of the most corrupted mindsets ever to write a module. Book 5, they went to a wizard school. That's
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah. An ancient wizard school buried under tons of rock. And then part 6, they go to an ancient city that nobody really has been to in years. There's people living there. It's way up in basically the Himalayas. Good luck. If you don't have this certain feat, you die. You have to have this feat or you have to have this amulet. If you take the amulet off, you die. You have to have the feat. So
sometimes two.
Yes. So it was a really good module series, a good campaign, and you get your players into it. And they don't discover Karzog at first. They might hear him. They have no idea what's really going on. And for 10 levels, they go. They're just going. They're taking care of things. They're the new deputies in town. They're fixing problems, and problems get bigger and bigger, coincidentally, as they level up. And then they start realizing that there's a wizard that's pulling all these strings. We're playing a fantasy RPG, a tabletop game. I'm not saying make every bad guy a wizard, but if you want a great bad guy, a wizard works very well. What do you think, Garrett?
Wizard, I tend to like to actually put the quote-unquote anti-party together.
Anti-party? What's the anti?
Oh yeah, you basically you build characters similar to the ones that are there, and you give them opposite alignments.
Does it work?
Sometimes.
Okay. What's the reason why the anti-party would work?
Well, it's really fun because, especially if you've got a cleric. Because I'm sorry, we had a friend of ours that was a lawful evil cleric that just cemented the power of a evil cleric into me. So definitely got one of those.
Zach.
Oh yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember, like bear form or something like that, where you just tore things apart. It was crazy.
It's a very fun character to play with.
Yeah.
I miss Zach. I gave him my colossal red dragon. You can beat the shit out of me if you'd like. I want to beat the shit out of me. Can't believe I gave that thing away. I should have kept it. When you're designing your modules, you want to have convenient escape points built into the bad guys. You want them to have a way to get away when the players are occupied or they're trying to save somebody else or some such. Make it as cinematic as possible. And there's a good reason for that, because you want your players to feel like they're the stars. They're the action heroes. Sometimes it takes like a full season to get the very big bad guy at the very end of the season.
Yep. See, my favorite thing is usually I'll run it every 5 to 6 levels. So yeah, they have this entity that they're or organization, whatever it is that they're trying to get rid of. But what they don't understand is by getting rid of them, they've actually helped this next organization. And then that power vacuum, they just suck up everything. So it winds up being the they're just going through and having to get rid of all the not so nice folks. Which I find funny and fun.
So whenever you're doing that, you don't have them bump into the big bad guy that often, do you?
Well, the thing is the big bad guy is built, but you don't see him until the end. And what people don't realize is that this is the guy who's been pulling all the strings behind the scenes for a very, very long time.
That's something that's very important to having a bad guy be a bad guy, is having him have an alternate means of transit and travel. Magic works greatly, but if he's too low level, you can do other ways. How many times have you ran a fight and the players have their last thing be a fireball or something that causes a lot of smoke, and whenever the fight's done, they can't find the big bad guy?
Oh, yeah. My favorite is the one who was actually a buddy of mine was running, and they were fighting a wizard, and of course, for teleport, it's line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
He
I
had
thought that
went
was Dimension Door.
Huh?
I thought that was Dimension Door.
Oh yeah, it was I'm sorry, it was D-Door. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So what the bad guy did is he set and Swiss cheesed a bunch of places around this cavern in this cave. So
Okay.
there was a little bit of, and everyone thought, well, it's done for light. No, it was done because he was flying, and then all of a sudden they threw like a fireball. He turns, and he's gone. No body, no nothing. By the time they are able to get back out of the cave system, because they're all the way in the back of the cave.
Yep.
By the time they're able to work their way back through the cave system, dude's gone. That's one of the best escape plans I've ever seen.
See, I liked it was Curse of the Crimson Throne. The Queen in that game. She had a lot of escape routes built in if you bumped into her before the very end.
Oh yeah.
But at the very end fight, she traded all those in. She was going down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Darth Thick has an interesting take on it. I once introduced my big bad evil guy in the first game, and the party was working for him, clearing out all his opposition. Around level 5, they figured out what was happening, and it was great. That reminds me of a book. That happens. These players are a bunch of college-age students, and their professor is running them through a game of fantasy tabletop RPG. And as they get to the table, the DM says, "We're running a different game tonight, but you're keeping your old characters. Your old characters are very important. They're very powerful. please preserve them as best as you can. And he describes the scene to him while one of the other players is getting acclimated to what the game is all about. And as Barrick is expressing to Andy, this Andrea Andropoulos, they call her Andy. She's a doll of a woman. And he explains to her how the game works and what dice you roll while the first chapter is going by. And one of the characters at the table says, there's a bunch of crates here as we teleport in, and it looks like a very familiar lake where we're at. Okay, I'm going to open the crates, and the crates are a very interesting trap that pulls all the people at the table into this fantasy realm. And they start trying to get back, and the wizard explains to them, listen, I needed you to go to this realm and make it better for me. I've been exiled, and I use this game to help you pass your time and go about some things. If you do for me this favor, I will give you rewards you have no idea about. And the players are kind of pissed because they don't like the fact they've been teleported away from college into this realm. But it's a very interesting book series by Joel Robinson.
Yeah, there's one of those that I read. I'm waiting for the next installment of. It's called NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, think of like any type of game like what we play. The NPCs that are at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a gnome, a orc, a human. They got 2 humans, and basically the gnome. And in this world, the gnomes are they're always getting kicked. They're the minions of the bad guys typically. And it's funny because he winds up becoming a paladin of the actual god of the minions. And it's really cool because he'll get down and you go, well, who do you think builds these dungeons? He goes, minions. And they got down into a spike trap, and then there was a little of the holy symbol. And they push it, and there's a whole other, trap underneath, that runs, with no traps whatsoever. They just whoop right to the boss. They just bypass everything and go straight to where they need to go, because who builds the dungeons? The bad guy doesn't build the dungeons. He's got minions to do that.
Minions do that.
So therefore, the minions have to build a way to get places from one to another safely, so they can continue working. So if you think about it, I've actually used that in a couple of games too, where they found a broken down, dilapidated spike trap or something that's just been wrecked over the years and whatnot, and they find that symbol. The players don't know what it is, but they find that symbol. I get a little kick out of it, but that's just me.
So you want your players to be frustrated by this person, because they're not going to be able to go out and just immediately detain him, arrest him, kill him, etc. Give him an organization he works with. Go ahead.
And really and truthfully, if you do it right, most players are going to hyper focus on this guy, which means they're not going to go and try to do little side quests on you. They will a little bit, but they won't get bored and try to, we're going to go rape and pillage this town.
Very true.
It's also, you can use this as a tool to keep your players focused because truthfully, it winds up being like a magician. You're
Mhm.
watching this, everything is happening over here out of sight, but in plain sight.
The campaign I ran in 2014 or 15. Yeah, Myth Protector on Amazon was pretty good. That was a good series. Um, Damn it. What was I saying, Garrett? I saw
I have
Parrot.
no idea.
What?
I have no idea.
Well, anyway, you have your NPCs, your big bad evil guy, and you want to dress them up with an organization. You want to give them a group of people. And back in 14, I was running a game where the players were in Magnamar and Galarian, and I didn't like the way the campaign was set up, but I used the NPCs and the old organization, the acrobat girls or the rooftop girls or something else. They were acrobat focused thieves, and they did really good with flipping around and skirmishing and getting in position to do sneak attacks on players, and it was a interesting campaign. Players did not like them, and every time I dropped hints that you think you see some girls that are familiar looking, they would stop and interrogate and see if these girls were actually parts of that thieves guild, which 80% of the time they were. When they would stop and interrogate, that's what it was. Players were pissed because the first couple times I ran against them with this group, they just outmaneuvered and they would just decimate the players, gang up, other feats, and just encircle and knife somebody to death, and that was it. Eight heroes, 2 of them dead, every combat. Hey, Jedi Bill, how are you doing tonight? But the Tower Girls is what they were called, and it was a very poorly implemented campaign, I thought, but the campaign had good bones to it. So I used that NPC group, and the players would focus on these NPCs with like a laser light. Like I had the laser light right here, and the other people at the table, the players were cats. They just jump on them.
Yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
didn't focus on those bad guys because the first 3 times he introduced us to them, we got schooled. So they did that from now on. It was rough. It was easier for me to kite them along with the Tower Girls than it was for me to drop them hints about where they need to go.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is that if you have your foiling NPC or NPC group, you can have a lot of fun with it. Because I mean, truthfully, just to kind of watch what the players can do, it'll also give you an idea of the type of thinking that the players do also, which is can be very interesting in itself.
So I like having players at the table that they don't want to just beat the module, but they really want to leave a mark on the game world they're adventuring in. And I love it when you get them to where they're interested in the campaign world more or as much as the NPCs that are trying to ruin their day. You have them meet that character around level 5, and I think you've got some really good opportunities.
Well, in fact, there's been a few times where I've actually had a a good antagonist that wasn't evil. That he was neutral, and they were working for him. They were, I think chaotic neutral is what they were, or something along those lines. But they don't have to be necessarily evil to get them to string those characters along. So truthfully, you kind of did it with us a little bit in Rise of the Rune Lords with Bilius Maximus. You strung us along where we needed to go with that, with a great ode to your friend. And I've even used him in a few of my games too. So
How many 70 at the table? Sorry. Okay. What was it that made the NPCs so memorable to you, though, Garrett?
just the for Bilius, it was the way that his favorite thing to do. Bilius Maximus, Republic War Wizard. Cantrip, summon Bar Winch. Holds up a silver. Portal opens up. Comes out with a good drink. Drinks it. Gives it back to her. She goes back through the portal. Done.
Yeah, I remember that character. It was a lot of fun. First edition.
He was a force missile mage, if I remember correctly. I think that's what you wound up building him as.
Yes. He worked well.
Just magic missile all day long.
Well, he likes the basics.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
First edition acrobat gnome with a rod of lordly might against the giants. Nice.
Am I?
So, once they met this character, keeping them together. Max has a good idea. Well, first off, I'll hit edge of time. First edition acrobat gnome with the rod of lordly might against the giants. I don't know about the gnome acrobat. Just my own personal opinion. I don't think gnomes are really suited to be really good NPC villains and foils, especially. Max Bolvin asks, what about competing group of adventurers who also solve things and get fame, stealing some of the thunder from the PC for a lighter tone game?
Oh yeah,
you could do that. That actually worked out really well.
And truthfully, this actually happened many years ago at the game store that myself and Bruce used to go to. The guy ran the same game. He had a Tuesday group and a Wednesday group, and then they riled up to a full battle. And come to find out, Tuesday group was on one side, Wednesday group was on the other side. I believe it was a werewolf game, werewolf games. So he was going in doing turns. Luckily they had two separate gaming areas. So he had one group in the back room, one group up front, and he would go back and forth between the two, and they were literally fighting each other. And it wound up being a fairly long session, but both sets really enjoyed it because they weren't necessarily playing against a bad guy, but they were playing against another group similar to them. And they said that really actually took the level for the challenge level for them, mentally up, because a lot of the guys, they all knew each other. They knew who was in the Tuesday, knew who was in the Wednesday. Once they figured that out, and then they're like, crap, we don't know what they're capable of. and the other people are like, crap, we don't know what they're capable of. So it wound up being that, they had the little tentative things, and then they just went all out, and it was amazing. So you could actually, if you've got two different nights running, you can actually wind up combining them. Another thing is that uh, with I was planning on eventually running two sets of, this has been a long time ago, of World of Warcraft. One side was going to be Alliance, the other was with the 3-5 was going to be Horde, and eventually they would come across each other. But unfortunately, that never came to fruition. But uh, the people who were at my table had a really good time with it. So, because the big thing that I did is the only thing that you couldn't play was a Forsaken, and the pretty much if you wanted any race, you could join the Horde. Even though it's in World of Warcraft lore, racial lines are drawn, but it was the thing is that there are different sects which we saw later on, like Taurens. Taurens, there are some Taurens that tribes that actually side with the Alliance over everything. And that. So, there's going to be groups that would side with one side or the other. So that made it easier. Now, overall, they took a reputation hit just because, a human walking through Orgrimmar that's not chained up. That was going to be a little, yeah. But, I mean, it actually made them have to work a little harder if they wanted to play that.
See, Warcraft, the old 3-5 game, that is almost perfect for setting up different groups and having them go against each other, seeing if they could achieve goals and such. And you could do that if you wanted to as a GM. You just would drive yourself nuts because you're like, I'm trying to get a party together for Tuesday night to compete against the other 5 work nights of the week. You try. You try.
But, the thing is that each side has lawful good.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, even if you're going against, even if you set up a different faction that are doing things, or a different group that's doing things, they can be good aligned. They think what they're doing is their true calling. Therefore, what they think they are doing is good. That's one thing a lot of people forget. Good is just not, good for the sake of being good. No, your deeds on what you think, it's the morality of what you think is good and evil. That's what dictates your alignment. In some parts, even in the Pathfinder, there are some parts where the orc hordes are coming over, and you are a good person for killing those orcs. Now there are orcs that are coming over that maybe they're trying to escape from something else, and they're actually not bad orcs, but it's that whole perception of what you perceive as good and what you perceive as evil. And that's another thing that you can, thing that you can bring in and in turn 2.
Yeah, I just don't want to introduce the big bad guy too quickly to the player characters. I want them to grow into their characters and feel like they've got a natural progression of events that are happening, natural storytelling beats and initiatives and such. I don't want them to feel like they're being put upon on things, and then here's an introduction to the future villain of our game. No, I don't want to do that.
Or actually, you could do that at level 1, where it's you got your party pissed this guy off in a bar. Now he has made it his life mission is he's going to make your life a living hell by whatever means necessary. And that could be your build to the big bad at the very end. Just that simple, they bumped him at the bar. It didn't say sorry or excuse me. That could be the entire catalyst to him, coming down at the very end of that campaign and being this almighty, because he's built himself up as the players have.
So you could have them introduce the players or introduce the foil NPC within the first module or two, or the first time they get together. You could do that if you want. It will not work for everybody, but it can work for some. The thing I like is how Jim Butcher writes his bad guys. Jim Butcher writes his bad guys, and the bad guys don't really know a level of degradation or capriciousness or being corrupted, but they think everything they're doing is good or for the greater good, and they're excited about it. They love doing what they do. So whenever you run a character, give him a couple extra motivations, give him a few extra things he likes to do aside from kill player characters, and let him have a few times where he wins. He doesn't have to beat up the entire NPC or the PC group. He just has to have enough win to continue his game. And that's the main thing. When the players are to the point where they're doing that much damage to him, he's going to probably turn on them with all of his fury. Good luck.
And I've actually seen a hireling be used as the big bad at the end. He's been traveling with them. They come up against, like the final boss, and actually goes, I finally got you guys here so you can die. Stabs a couple people in the back and just goes all out. There are so many ways that you can do it. And yeah, exactly. Villains are the heroes of their own story.
Yes.
And that's the thing is that if you look at Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, they have their own stories. The thing is that I think there's a quote that somebody made for everybody who sees you as a hero, there's at least one that sees you as the villain. And I mean that could be, it's your world, it's your game. You can actually develop that character any way you want. Is he going to be the type of person that's behind the shadows that they don't see till the very end? Is it going to wind up being someone they meet at the very beginning? Maybe like someone in the king's court. Maybe he's the jester. Who knows? However you want to do it. It is completely up to you how you want to do the big bad. And truthfully, I think that it's better that the big bad kind of moves along with them, and that he may even have a couple skirmishes with them along the way.
Well, that kind of ties into one of the points I have here. because Gorilla Red hit it. The villains are the heroes of their own stories. They think they're the paladin. Like the best villain I've ever read, even though I love Butcher and I love a lot of other authors, Timothy Zahn hit a home run when he wrote Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn was like my absolute favorite bad guy in science fiction, and has been since I was 16.
Comic wise, Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom is almost the same way.
Yeah, he is very much take care of his people, and yeah, that's how he is. You know, it's very, you know, those two run along very strong parallels.
The saving grace of Man of Steel 2013 was General Zod. That was the only thing that kept me in that movie theater, because he seemed like he had some character attributes that they were actually going to let you see his motivations. And when he started talking about how every action I make is for the preservation and continuation of the people of Krypton. That was amazing. And I thought, exactly. You know, like, okay, well, Zod, it's your movie now, because this Clark Kent guy has bored the shit out of me up to this point, and I don't think he's going to save it. So you have that, but Emperor Palpatine was Gorilla Red's favorite villain of all time, and he knew he was a bad guy. He did not care. He felt entirely justified by his actions. Not exactly a good villain, in my opinion. Definitely good for the movies he was in. And I'm going to say only one episode 1 through 6, because the part 7 doesn't exist.
Yes, it does.
If I fall asleep in a goddamn lightsaber fight, if I fall asleep in the theater during a lightsaber fight, then
that just means you need more sleep.
No, it doesn't. It means that the movie sucks. Like the fight choreography and all of the action, it was miserable. I've never sworn off a movie franchise before I saw The Force Awakens, and after I saw that, I'm like, I'm done. I just slept through half the film. I'm good. I never need to see this shit ever again. Hey, Carol's Cookies. Hey, Rasputin Gaming. The topic of tonight is how to build a bad guy that your players will love to hate, and they'll love to pursue and thwart his plans, but he will be a foil. He will be a problem for them. Captain Trek gets it. There was only 6 Star Wars movies.
Well, see, and truthfully, going back to like Superman, yeah. I really don't like the goody goodies. That's why I'm more of a Marvel fan.
Okay. You just don't want to be all perfect.
What now?
You don't like it when they're the good guys too perfect.
Exactly. Now, the caveat to that has been the stuff that the CW's actually done.
Okay.
Because they've shown Flash is not infallible.
No, he's not.
You know, Arrow had, you know, the conscience of, well, am I going to keep killing, or am I going to just maim a little bit to catch? And truthfully, the Superman and Lois that they've got is phenomenal, because you actually get to see the dad side of Clark, and they humanized him finally. This is what I've been waiting for. Yes, he's this all-powerful being that flies, but he's got kids at home, and he's racking his brain. How the am I going to fix this? You know, it's that type of thing. I think that's what it is for me, is that the Marvel heroes, with the exception of a couple, are fairly well humanized. They all have an issue. They all have a vice, you know, and like that's why I also like the Marvel villains, because they're the exact same way. And I have to say probably the two Marvel heroes that I'm okay with is Swamp Thing and Constantine.
I mean, DC.
Yes, in the DC side.
Okay.
Those are the two heroes because they've seen some shit. And everyone goes, well, Batman too. Yeah, well, Batman is Batman. It kind of is what it is with him. But if you look at the rogues galleries and the bad guys, that is where it is for the DC side.
See, I don't have a preference between Marvel or DC. They're both good vehicles for telling stories. Like, my favorite Marvel story is a toss-up between the Simonson run of Thor and Demon in a Bottle for Iron Man, because I thought that was just a really good story, and that was just one of those stories that when you read it, you realize that Tony is just flawed.
Oh yeah,
he's really flawed, and the movies never even really touch on it. Although you see a little smidge of it, a smidgen. You don't get much of it. Here's your story, you little comic nerd. Here's your Demon in a Bottle in the 30 seconds of Iron Man 2 that you get. You get a shitty story, and Ivan Dragunov, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. I'm a bad guy. And the real problem was Tony's drinking and his health. But we're not going to focus on that. So it just pissed me off that we had the opportunities to put some really good movies on, and they failed horribly. The other series I really liked was Peace on Earth for DC. And that was an interesting one because it was an older Superman. After Superman had done his thing, he's old. He's like 60 years old in this comic. Looks a lot like George Reeves from the original Superman TV series, because that was what he was based off of. I like what Gorilla Red says. Batman's a mopey edgelord rich boy. Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. But Superman and Peace on Earth, he has really no villain that he's crusading against. He's fighting against. He's kind of content, and he slows down and he looks around and he sees the continent of Africa. He's like, those people need food. Those people need food really bad. And so he starts working with the United Nations and trying to get them to divert food stores to Africa because he wants to help out and wants to cure the starving kids and end world hunger. And as he's flying and he's carrying a super tanker in his hands over the continent, getting ready to land at some location to feed thousands of people, one of these warlords, insert country here, has a warlord in it, and this guy fires missiles at this flying super tanker and Superman. And Superman just watches all the grain rain down uselessly where it doesn't need to go, and he's pissed, and he gives up his quest. And he's like, I can't fix the earth. I can't fix it. This is my failure. I cannot fix the human condition. And you actually feel for Superman once, because as much as he has done good, he can't fix this. This is something that people have to evolve and they have to fix. The continent of Africa has to fix itself. And it was one of the best comic books I've ever read. I think it was in '98 when that came out. And damn it, if I am too broke when I lived in Illinois, I also would have bought it, because it was worth every penny. Every page was a work of art. And it wasn't a small comic. It was like a 24 by 48 comic when you unfolded it to turn pages. It was crazy. But
But I mean, even if you look at, like let's use the Marvel movies. Yeah, they dropped teasers about Thanos.
Yeah, for
But
20 of them.
but the thing is that it was all across, like 10 to 12 movies.
Lots of them. Yes.
So I mean, if you think about it, in an adventure in a RPG type setting, that was also their build up to the big bad.
Yes. And it was a worthy big build up to a big bad. It was an amazing build up to a big bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're ever going to have another series of films like the Phase 1 through Phase 3 Marvel. As much as I would love to see DC emulate that success and copy it and print money, I don't see it happening.
The issue is that DC live action is not as good as DC animation. DC has got the animation down.
Yeah.
Live
Totally.
action, they don't have a clue. Now, Suicide Squad, the reboot that they did of the Suicide Squad, they did fairly well with, just because of who they had behind the script, behind the camera running stuff.
Well,
James Gunn
did it that way.
And he's actually coming back for a Peacemaker series. It's just, about Peacemaker after the fact.
Okay, I'm going to reveal that I need to turn in my geek card because I don't know who Peacemaker is.
It was John Cena.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, it was he was a hero that took it too far.
Sure. I can believe that.
Oh, you're a bad guy. Boom. Screw your due process. Boom. Done.
Okay. So, the players, the heroes of your game, for the majority of the time they're doing stuff, they shouldn't realize if you've constructed a gigantic web for the players to stumble across and the players to follow each strand to a new bad guy. We got to take out this guy. We got to take out this guy. We got to take out this guy. If you're doing that, don't make it too overtly complicated. One, you can if your players like that. Darth Thig echoes everything you just said. DC is good at animation, and Marvel is good at live action. Both of them need to stay in their lane. That's my opinion.
Pretty much.
And it's sad because we've known that for how many years?
Quite a few.
Yeah, many years. So your players shouldn't know who's really pulling strings. They should have like an idea, like in the Lost Lands campaign world. If the players start actually getting wise to the guilds and how much power the guilds have, and this is good for Harn too. If they start investigating all of these guilds and start asking questions, they find the secret societies, they find out who's the movers, who's the shakers, who's the money behind the throne. And it turns into a really big, deep web of corruption and guilt and framing and horrible things. Your players should have fun with that, but they shouldn't know all the answers with just one simple, it's a DC 25 knowledge local check. Make them work for every shred of information they earn. And when I say make them work, make them sweat. Make them work for each and every little victory. What if there was a crossover Marvel DC movie where the DC characters are animated like in Roger Rabbit's?
Please.
Well, we have to fix Jessica Rabbit and make her the old 1988 version because that's the only version many of us will accept. Not that any new version of Jessica Rabbit's poor, but we want Jessica Rabbit to be Jessica Rabbit. And there's two very important things that she carries around that make her Jessica Rabbit.
And that's all he's going to say about that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So after about the last act of your campaign starts, the bad guy should start panicking a little bit. The players should be able to see that they're getting close to somebody important, because the high value targets they detain, they interrogate, they process, they'll have a lot more stuff on them. They'll have a lot more responsibility that unravels once they're taken down. They should feel like they're getting close. And as a GM, you should be getting an idea of where you want to call it quits, because you're going to have players that around 12th or 15th level, you're not going to be able to stop an investigation from being almost a push button affair. You can delay things. You can say, well, it takes a legend lord, or this takes a commune spell. But that'll be an hour and a half of your game time getting these answers, role playing this out. Players are out for blood. They're looking for every way they can farm experience points. And your campaign world, your little campaign world, is the only way they're going to get from level 9 wizard to level 10 wizard. And damn it, everything's got an XP tag on it. Everything from exploration to discussing things with NPCs, having an important conversation. Oh, we just made 30,000 gold. Yeah, that's 30,000 XP for the old timers. So you're going to be fighting the experience point drip against the player. You're going to try to stymie that. You're going to try to stop that flow, because you want this to be something that they have to work for. It's just not a simple addition of, I'm going to cast a spell to give me everything I need to know right here. No, don't do that. Don't fall in that trap.
See, the one thing that I've done, because I had a group that was getting close to it, and the big bad, I had the big bad, quote unquote, hire an assassin, which totally threw them all off. Be surprised what a mind flayer will do. Well, if there's no one to question that's seen him, and all the brains are sucked out, sorry about your damn luck.
I'm a big fan of illithids and mind flayers. They're probably my favorite NPC monster race throughout the entire D&D universe.
I the only time I use them is when I need to slow people down.
See,
Because for the simple fact of that they have this preponderance of evidence here that's led them to here, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, the dude's a mind flayer, and it totally switches their gears in their brain of trying to go, wait, because they think now the big bad is not who they thought it was. They think it's now the mind flayer because he's covering shit up. Doesn't, because they haven't been able to put all the pieces together, and then this is just a huge click. That's not even actually a piece of the puzzle.
See, one of my favorite things they did with mind flayers was in second edition they put out a source book for mind flayers, and then they put out a 3-part adventure series for the mind flayers, and that was kind of okay, but the source book was great because there's a picture in there. Somebody drew a picture of this woman tied up, and her hands are tied up in these stocks, and she can't reach herself, and there's an illithid right behind her, and they're standing in an arena filled with mind flayers, and the illithid is broadcasting to all the other mind flayers how much fear she's just shedding and how scared she is. And then he starts putting his tentacles in her ear and letting everybody know what her thoughts are as he starts to work his way towards her brain, pulling all the thoughts out of her head and letting everyone, all of his friends, know what is going through her mind as he slowly and deliciously savors and slurps and fingers the interior of her skull with his 4 massive tentacles, and he pulls the thoughts right out of her head, along with all the bits of gray matter which splatter on the ground of the arena. The lithics are fucking badass. I don't give a shit what anybody says. And Max Bowman, I don't know if they're kept trademarked for that reason, but like the Beholder, they are so amazing. Divination spells will help for sure. They won't reveal everything in one. No, they won't. You have to put it all together on a slow basis, and don't let the players have all the answers at once, because you've got to have the clues organically placed in the game, but not to where they are just avalanched onto the players, and after they get all this information sifted out, they dust themselves off. We're going to go fight the big bad guy. No, you're not. You're only 11th level. You'll die. Carol's like, you will not be putting your tentacle in my ear. Oh, really?
3 drink minimum.
Yeah, I know, right? Are an awesome optional mechanic, too. Psionics are optional in most games. You're right. I don't use them in games that I run, but they're there if I want to.
Did you fruit the beer?
I fruited. It's not a beer. It's a margarita.
Okay. Because my wife would kill you if she found out you fruited a beer.
I only fruit shandies.
No, you don't fruit any beer.
No, Garrett, a shandy's already got fruit in it.
Yes. Therefore, you do not need to add more.
And sometimes I have an excess of lemons, and I don't want to make lemonade. And Carol's is like, that's what she said. I miss 90s AD&D 2nd edition Dark Sun. Yeah, Dark Sun was a fun campaign series. I never ran it. I played it. It was a campaign where you really got to see where there was no good guys. Hell, they didn't even have paladins in that campaign. Weren't the gods extinct? You worshipped elemental forces, I think. Yeah. And you had clerics. There might be a cleric of water somewhere, but typically all the other clerics worked and worshipped all the elemental forces, so there was really not a lot of cures. It was a nasty game, very gritty. You had a bone sword, and that was it.
I have not done the doppelganger, but I know of a few groups that have. Typically with the doppelganger, what they've done is they've infiltrated it with the usually it's hirelings, because that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I've used hirelings as the doppelganger food, but not the player characters.
Well, no, they're actually saying of replacing in with a doppelganger. Like a doppelganger infiltrate the party and become part of the party.
That could be really cool if you could do it right.
Yeah. Like I said, that's the best time to do that is probably when you've got a bunch of hirelings.
Edge of Time's like, oranges in a blue moon, says a commercial. I'm not a fan of Blue Moon. I like Belgian whites. Don't get me wrong. I love Belgian white beers.
I actually found a way I could actually consume Blue Moon. At Red Robin, they actually have it as a shake, as a frozen thing, and it's actually pretty good. It's like an orange sherbet type thing. It's so good.
Travis has entered the chat. Hey, Travis. In the Pathfinder game I ran long ago, the quest giver was replaced halfway through the campaign with something else, with someone else. And that's a valid tactic to do that too, because that right there kind of puts your players on notice that you shouldn't trust anybody. That's a really good technique, is to have a doppelganger infiltrate someone close to them and start kiting the players in another direction, a direction
Oh,
that, yeah, it's nasty. Darth Vader said, God said, fuck this plane, and ran away. That's how I see gods in Dark Sun. I don't know how the Dark Sun gods fared. I don't know how or when they left, but there's nobody there now.
they were like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
But what will keep... Oh, yeah, it could make for a nice twist to a murder mystery one-shot. Absolutely.
Mm. Or, even if you wanted to go, that far, you could also throw, like a, Call of Cthulhu. You could do, anything like that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be D&D. It can be for any game system.
Yeah. I mean, what we're talking about has been mainly geared toward D&D, but it can... The principles are the same regardless of where you're looking at, whatever game system you're looking at.
Yes. You can have...
If you're looking at Traveler, if you're looking at, like Palladium, the superheroes, anything that's out there, anything, any of the White Wolf stuff that was out there, you can use this on anything across the board.
Ooh, doppelgangers in Call of Cthulhu would be fucking awesome. Yeah, it would. Call of Cthulhu is one of the nastiest games, not for being nasty, but it's a nasty game in the fact that the players are scared to learn too much about the world they live in because of insanity or, actual sanity loss, things of that nature. Getting a psychosis, the normal things.
Now imagine the sanity of the doppelganger slowly descending. That brings a whole new twist into it. They get crazier and crazier. Mm-hmm.
Travis is like, we live in a Call of Cthulhu game. One of the last points I want to look at here is when to let the players have their moment.
Never.
When do you think that is, Garrett?
Usually, I'll let them have little moments, but I'm the asshole because I learned from some of the nastiest people. Is you give them a little, and then you take a little. So yeah, they may have won this victory, this battle, but they may lose some hirelings on the way. They may lose some things to get there. It's to make it feel like that the truth of it is that it's actually been a struggle. Yes, we did overcome it, but we didn't come out of the other side unscathed.
See, I like wrapping up a campaign and letting them have their moment, but at the same time, there's part of me that wants to let them have a moment where they see that they've done everything they could, and most of the bad guys have been put to rest or are in stocks. But then you have Destro flying out of there. I'll get you, Joes. One of those moments.
Well, and think, if you think about it in just a game that me and you have been in, Bruce. When we hit Zin Shalas, we hit that final boss. Yes, we beat him, but you lost. I think you lost me and another character in the process.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had that. Oh my God, yes, but we lost the cleric. We lost. Yeah, I can't remember who else.
4. There were 4 player character deaths. 1 cohort died.
Yeah.
Out of 8.
Yep.
If there was ever a better written Paizo bad guy, I don't know of it, because they made that guy like 23rd level. and you guys were supposed to be 18th.
And we were just 18th.
And there was 8 of you, not 4 like the module thought.
Yeah. You had some good rolls.
I had some great rolls, and I didn't really have to do a lot of work to kill the player characters in that game, because a lot of character deaths or a lot of character setbacks were player motivated or player executed.
Yeah, yeah, but the what I'm coming back to is that with that, yes, we lost half the party, but we won.
Yes,
We won. The ones that were left alive had their hands held high, their head held high. Yes, they remembered the people that got killed along the way for that victory, but the victory was obtained.
yeah, I was surprised that they actually made it through that campaign.
Yeah, that it was a rough campaign. I will say it was a lot better than what is it, Second Darkness.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Second Darkness, you guys got to book 6, and you just kind of looked at me blankly. What the fuck are we doing? What? What are we fucking doing? What are we fighting? What are we?
I think that was that was me that brought that up. I said, dude, we're playing rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
We're literally on a railroad track, and we're doing the exact same thing over and over and over again.
They had this huge cavern underground that the players were supposed to explore the entirety of the cavern, but there's a ticking clock, and there's no way by the module's parameters the players are going to win. There's no way. You're going to have the end of the world happen before you figure out what's really going on. And I'm going to run this instead. And we quit that game. We won. We quit. We quit. And then we started playing Kingmaker. Yeah. Which I felt was a much better campaign.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. That's one thing that I really liked about Kingmaker is that you were given 2 or 3 choices.
Yeah.
Depending on what you chose to go after, set other things in motion.
Yes.
That they would have to deal with later. And that actually opened my eyes more so as a GM of, okay, there are other things going on here. And able to figure out, there are other things going on here. And there's stuff that if they have a choice between A, B, and C, they take C. Well, things in A and B aren't going to go as good.
No, they're not. One of my favorite games on the PC the last 10 years is XCOM, UFO Defense. And after certain adventures, you'll be in the base and you'll click, okay, send me the next thing I got to do, computer. And it says, oh no, we're being invaded. And it'll have 3 places where UFOs are on the planet, and you have to choose where you're going. Well, you can choose one of those 3. The other 2 places that you're not going are going to get worse, are going to be really hard for you to dislodge the alien influence. And that is a very diabolical game. It's one of the best strategy games I've seen in years. It's still something I play from time to time. The mod community is good. Thank God for the long war. But I really love XCOM UFO Defense because it makes you feel like it's hopeless. But you continue to play. You continue to try new things to see if this is a winning strategy or not. So that's actually one of the few games I've played where I have to read guidebooks and see how the game rules help out. Anyway, I like having a campaign where the players are forced to make a decision, but no matter which choice they make, it's going to be a harder road for them to hoe concerning the factors with the choice they didn't make. If you're willing to write off one whole faction or one whole set of factions, that's not so bad. But the players never really want to do that because they want to be in a situation where they can always try to play to their strengths. And after a while, of giving people a cold shoulder and not giving them aid or help, it's kind of hard to get them to be like, hey, friend, hey, buddy. They're like, fuck you. uh, I I prefer games like that. With having a bad guy running his table, you're going to have the players reacting. I'll just use the Ironwood invasion, or the Iron Fang invasion from Paizo. It's an invasion adventure path. In the first 3 books out of the 6, the players are on the retreat. Their home village gets sieged. They run to the forest. Then the forest gets sieged, and they start trying to put together clues as how to put this in perspective. How can we win? How can we do this? Well, we got to flee. We got to flee again. And finally, in the 3rd book, they actually get their footing and can start striking back. And they can start doing things to help out their friends or their family. And as a DM, whenever you have like an invasion going on, you always want to stress to the players, listen, this isn't going to bring your family back, or this isn't going to do anything for you right now, except for make you feel good if you kill this one bad guy. You need to think of a bigger picture and have a bad guy in mind that is kiting the players around, seeing where the most influential heroes are at, and trying to put his pawns in place to delay them or to stop the inevitable of having the heroes kill him and take his head. You don't want to let that happen too prematurely. Garrett?
Yep.
When you
Sorry, I'm still multitasking. Sorry.
It's okay. No, I was just gonna kick it over to you for a minute, but if you're
I'm working on this, so yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you liked Apple products.
This is one that I got for dirt cheap, and I've been messing around with it.
Sorry. We've got a little bit of chat going on, and people are talking about cosmic horror. Driller Red is not really thrilled by cosmic horror, and he's like, I wonder if it's because a lot of horror these days is two-dimensional and sensationless and empty. And Edge of Time is like, well, the world isn't in line on most horror, and the stakes aren't as high. And look at Aliens Part 2, yes, but Ripley escapes. She's host the Xenomorph Bound for Earth, cosmic horror ending. And less of a cosmic horror, more alien apocalypse. Another good cosmic horror trope is I Am the Cancer. Most famous example is Innsmouth. Spoiler alert. Trying to escape a thing you're tied to via genetics. And if you guys haven't read the Innsmouth horror from H.P. Lovecraft, I really think that if you've got some spare time, Lovecraft is great. Lovecraft has got some amazing stories. I like August Derth instead, but that guy took the cosmic horror that Lovecraft did, and he put an actual worldwide threat on what he was writing. Whereas Lovecraft said, you're going to lose a ranch. You're going to lose this little town, which means nothing in this state of Massachusetts. And August Derth, when he wrote about big cosmic conspiracies, big things, like they're building an intergalactic highway for Azathoth, and the Earth will be bulldozed. Things like that. You're going to lose the entire planet if this goes through. And I'm not saying that I don't like Lovecraft. I just told you ought to read The Innsmouth Horror by H.P. Howard Phillips was an amazing author, and he had a group of friends around him that they all knew that they were good authors. They knew that they had some talent. But August Derth was a guy that had some money, and after H.P. Lovecraft died mysteriously, he said, you know what? I've got to get something done for this guy, because H.P. Lovecraft taught me a lot about writing, a lot about being a good friend, and for me to just let him pass and not have his stories be read scares me. And so he put his books into his own publishing house, and he published them, and then like nothing happened. People were exposed to it, yeah, but it wasn't until the 1960s. 30 years had passed before H.P. Lovecraft finally got the justification he was due.
Yep.
The recent movie, The Deep Ones. I wasn't even aware there was a Deep Ones movie.
Well, and even looking at even more, talking about other books, that the Monster Hunter International, that has started, in later books, has started drifting more to that.
See, I see the games. I haven't seen the movie yet.
It's nothing to do with the game, with the movie.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. This is why
I will say that it does have one of the most intense starting scenes in a book. Larry Carrera writes very similar to Butcher.
What? Really?
Very similar. Larry Carrera, he is a libertarian, so he does write from more of a libertarian point of view. But he's also very pro guns.
Okay.
Like literally explaining things about weapons and everything else that are in here. It's just like, I'm sitting here going, oh, I got to Google that real quick. What the hell is that? Because I don't recognize that. But yeah, that is a book series that if you get a chance, Bruce, yes, do it.
Okay.
Even if you get I don't know if you do audiobooks, but that way you can do it kind of in between your rides.
Yes.
That could be a way too.
Well,
they're all on Audible.
I'm looking for a good set of earbuds that are wired. I'm not a big fan of wireless earbuds. Otherwise, I'd just go for the ones that everybody advertises. What brand is that?
These are actually the Amazon ones.
Okay, Amazons are good. Good deal.
Yeah, they last a good 2-3 hours.
No, I'm going for wired, not wireless.
Oh yeah, these are wireless, but they're Bluetooth. Plus, they have Alexa built into them too, so which is actually kind of nice also.
G-Rock, who are you talking about? What's this guy's name?
Larry Carrera.
Want to spell that in the chat, please?
No.
I know.
Hold on. I'll bring up the Goodreads and post that into the. Yeah. There's the Goodreads link.
Now, you mentioned the political angle on it. A lot of people I know that are of the libertarian mindset, they're actually a lot more gun friendly than Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
The Republicans, like Illinois is a good example. Like they need some stronger Republicans up there that are in the election circuit, because you guys seem to get really bad candidates. Oh yeah, Carol's like, Bruce Lombardo loves a good audiobook story. Yes, I do. If Siri reads it to me, it can go from 0 to oh my god real quick. We had a friend of ours that he revealed to us in a brave moment, which he didn't have to, but he did. He revealed that he wrote porn, a specific type of porn. And so, like all bastards, I decided I'd have it read to me by Siri. And it was almost as good as when Gilbert Gottfried did a 3-minute commercial for Audible talking about 50 Shades of Grey.
No, we're not playing Zombies versus Bronies. We have to wait for Thursday for that.
Max is like, that's the dude I thought I met in 2009.
Yeah. He he also has another series that you'd like to, the Grimoire Chronicles.
I've heard of it.
Basically, a comet goes over the Earth during the Civil War time and completely changes history. Hitler is taken, and when he writes Mein Kampf, taken and is put in jail, then just killed straight out for his rhetoric. So yeah, it's so World War II never really happened. So yeah. The second Thursday of every week.
We'll have to have Blaine read those out.
Oh my god! What is he tonight? Damn it!
I sent him a text like,
actually, where are the? I noticed most of the other.
Well, we've got some good people from our usual streams, which is here. The Legion of Myth guys, I knew they weren't going to be involved with tonight's too much because a lot of them are busy, and I thought, let me hit a let me hit a topic. If it's going to be a dull night, let me hit one of my Plan B topics, because like writing a foil or playing a foil NPC is not nearly as fun in practice for some GMs as it is for me. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also look at the game when you finally get that final countdown moment. Is it going to be one more turn of kill Dr. Lucky, or is it going to be the actual end of Dr. Lucky?
Well, see, and truthfully, when I start pulling out antagonists at really low level, is sometimes when I get, and I'm going to fully admit as a GM, sometimes I get players that really annoy me, and sometimes it's easier to break all their toys and make them leave on their own than for me to say get the hell out, because I'm just that asshole.
It's like running a good NPC. I think it's fun. I don't like to role play, but like whenever it's the time for, okay, I got to break out Skeletor. Ah, you boob!
Jesus, mate. Jesus, mate. St. Patrick or Catherine? What the hell was that?
Do not be afraid to borrow from your favorite childhood toy franchise for your bad guys either. I don't know if there was there ever a bad guy in. I'll ask Carol. Hey, Carol, was there ever a real bad guy like a Gargamel for My Little Pony? I mean, that would have like actually improved it, I think, but no, I don't think there was. Your Skeletor sounds like the OG GM. I'm sure if I say that to him, it'll make me rise in his eyes. I'm sure he'll love that. No, not Gargamel as in like Master Gargler, but like Gargamel, the big bad guy that hated all the Smurfs. Gorilla Red's like, I couldn't defeat Skeletor. I love Skeletor. He's like my favorite bad guy. If you're going to be a bad guy with no success rate, be like Skeletor. Guy had like a bunch of great ideas, but he hired Beastman as his second in command, and it was all downhill from there. Everybody's like, I don't know what's going on, but I keep finding these strange red hairs. Well, let's keep following them. We'll find the perpetrator eventually. Edge of Time. That's a good one. Garrett, we're gonna end this stream here. We got about 6 minutes before we hit the 2-hour mark, and I wanna do that. I want to keep it right around 2 hours whenever I'm doing this. What do you think parting words for anybody that's running a bad guy. What do you think is going to be the important thing they should take when they're at the table with the players?
If you're going to have a foil character like this, remember that it's going to be fun for you, but not necessarily fun for the characters. So kind of keep that in mind. You want to make sure that everyone at your table is having an enjoyable experience. So don't you can overdo it. Just know how to moderate yourself and pull back from it.
And that's a very valid point. Like your players, they set aside time. Thank you, Carol. They set aside time to get to your table and hang with everybody and be part of your experience. So give them the respect and allow them time to where when it's time for the players to overcome their nemesis, allow them to do it. Don't keep being like Lucy yanking that football away from Charlie Brown. As much as you want to, that nemesis character is not going to give you a handsy at night. Okay? You're not going to get a visit from Evil Lynn, some fictitious babe in your campaign world, and she's going to satisfy all your dreams. It's not going to happen. You can find somebody on Craigslist, and it'll probably be much cheaper. But your players, they actually like getting together with you. They like being at your table. So whenever they've done everything they can, and you've exhausted the logical route of things that this bad guy would do, allow him to take a downfall. Allow him to go down. There's so many better times ahead if you do it right, because you're setting the seeds to where the players want to do this again in maybe another year or another 6 months. Carol said something that I saw Thulsa Doom on screen. What was Conan's nemesis? Let's see. I thought I saw Thulsa Doom up there. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah. Still likely inspired by Cole's nemesis, Thulsa Doom. Arnie, he was the only Conan. You know what? I'm going to say that, unpopular opinion, I like the Jason Momoa Conan the Barbarian from 2012. It was not a great movie. We know this. But the source material was not Shakespeare. The source material was there to keep young men entertained. And entertain me it did. It felt like I was sitting through a movie that Robert Howard would be happy to watch. Baron Girock disappears. I had a teacher in college who would go on safari every summer when some girls found out and were all offended. They confronted him saying, "So you go and kill lions?" And he replied, "Well, I don't always kill them, sometimes just injure them." Yeah, and in Howard's books, Conan had a lot of different opponents, but none of them were recurring nemesis, if I remember right. They never built up to that. They were always good, short, one-off bad guys. If you want a series like Conan, there's the Prisoner of the Horned Helmet by Frank Frazetta. There's 4 books in that novel series that I highly recommend you go and check out, or go to the library, or buy them off Amazon. I think they're pretty cheap there. They're a good series. They are sword and sorcery set in the age of Hyperborea, right after the downfall of Atlantis. So it's an interesting set of tales. Anyway, I really appreciate having the 2 hours to spend with you guys. I had more players and more people in the chat than I expected. It was nice. If you guys like what me and others do, go ahead and share, like, and subscribe. I really appreciate each and every one of you for popping in, throwing some text in the chat. In the movie, yes, he was a serpent master instead of a skull wizard. Yeah, Edge of Time, they kind of screwed up the script. Anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. Me and Garrett, really, we didn't know how tonight was going to go. I had some bullet points, and we wing it. You just go with it. This was not a practiced endeavor. We're trying to get ideas out there so you people that want to run a game have ideas for your table. And I hope that these ideas go good for you. Garrett?
Yes.
You want to give these people some parting words of wisdom?
I got nothing. Just I know. There we go. Here we go. Do your best and don't fuck it up.
And that sounds about like what I would put on a mug. We could put that on a mug. That'd be $1 million idea. Do your best and don't fuck it up. It's like their second coffee cup of their second cup of coffee of the day. Don't fuck it up.
That'll be on my Redbubble soon. Now that I have a Redbubble, I've got $200 worth of crap sitting in my cart that I need to.
Edge of Time. If Death Dealer wasn't written by Frazetta, who wrote it? Because I know there were other names on the covers, but it was Frazetta's character, and he was a main idea guy. He might not have written every word in those books. I know, we're just dragging this out. The Death Dealer series, The Prisoner of the Horned Helmet, was not wholly Frank Frazetta's. I get it, but if you want to find those books on the internet, those are the keywords you use. If Piponi is a pony that wears goggles, so does Sir Walter. Drive fast, take chances. Piponi needs goggles. Then you get to heaven a half hour before the devil knows you're dead. What's the point in that? Okay. Anyway, James R. Silky, my bad. Thank you, Travis. All right, guys. This has been a production of the Gatekeepers, and we do appreciate each and every one of you. Like we said, we'll be back here on Thursday on this channel for an episode of Table Breakers. Me, Garrett, and possibly Blaine will be sitting around chewing the fat about a topic. Garrett, any idea what this topic is? Go ahead, Garrett. Throw it out there. Whatever fucking goes to mind first.
I have no idea. We talked about it, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to discuss this at a later point. But anyway, everybody have fun. Get some rest. Be productive tomorrow and do your best. Don't worry about screwing up things. If you're in motion, you're going to be just fine. Thanks so much.